we went from constant product market fit stage. I mean, we were, and I think this is true for many communities versus like a SaaS company, is you stay in product market fit stage almost indefinitely because you're building something that is an ecosystem. It evolves constantly.
Yes.
It is always in motion. The big shift was going from that stage to this is who we are. This is what we do. Here's who we're not. And this is what we don't do. And having a ton of conviction around that.
Welcome to Community Dissection, where we dissect online communities to give you an inside look at community design, architecture, and evolution. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to Community Dissection. In this episode, I am very excited and honored to be interviewing Erin Halper, the founder of The Upside. Erin, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Yes, well, you just did it for me. I'm Erin Halper. Hi, I'm the founder of The Upside and CEO of The Upside. I guess after several years of doing this, we can say CEO of The Upside. And we're a community where top independent consultants join forces to scale and advance their businesses.
Awesome. How many years have you been doing this?
The community is 4 years old. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. And am I correct in that you had like an accelerator before the community?
During, like we came out with that in end of 2019 as a natural way to consolidate all of this knowledge into one system. We're one of the few that I know of that did community first, then a digital accelerator versus the opposite. But you're probably thinking of the fact that we weren't a community at first. There was something before that, but the community officially started in January of 2019.
Awesome. Well, I'm very excited to dissect some of what the magic that you have happening in the community. So for some context, everyone, I joined The Upside one quarter ago. I've been in for officially 1 quarter and was just blown away by the community design and the programs and level of detail that Erin has baked into the process. And just the behavior of members has been so well trained. I guess that doesn't sound very sexy, but there's like a very clear set behavior by members. And a lot of community builders tend to really struggle with how to create that culture and that vibe in their community. So I'm excited to dive in to some of the design behind the magic that you're making in the Upside community. What made you want to launch this community, Erin?
Well, like I said, it wasn't always a community. So I didn't go from zero to community. I started in 2017. I started a company that had an intention of matching consultants with clients. I had consulted out on my own for 7 years. I had a lot of success with that, mostly because I just didn't know what I didn't know. So I just, and no one else, I didn't know anyone else who was doing it. So I just kind of figured it out on my own. No one told me it would be difficult. I figured it out and it seemed pretty easy to me. What I realized over the years was people kept asking me, how'd you do it? How'd you do it? And I'd meet with them and tell them what to do and how you made it happen and how to price your services and how to talk to clients. And after doing that quite a bit, I realized, there's a big market for people who want to go into this type of business model. They want to leave corporate. They don't want to work for someone else anymore. They want to take their skills and work for themselves. They just don't know how to do it. And so I thought, and I knew that the hardest part was getting clients. That's always, the work is easy. They already know how to do that. It's getting the clients. That's the hard part. So that was the business model, is I was good at getting clients. So I was like, I'll get the clients. I'll match you. I'll make a piece off the top. You just show up and be your amazing self. But I ended up really hating that business model because every deal was isolated. There was no connections really being made across the different people I was working with. And quite honestly, I was dealing with contracts all day long, which was not something I anticipated. I really don't like looking at contracts, and I did not want to be doing that all day long. Also, another interesting thing happened where we were making money off the client side. So businesses were paying us for the relationship, for connecting them, like a headhunter.
Yeah.
But the demand was on the other end. So we had all this demand from the independent consultants, and I had to drum up demand on the client side. And I started thinking, well, I need to monetize the other side because those people are lining up at my door. I have hundreds and hundreds of people who want to work with us, but I have to independently get all these clients. I was like, it seems like I should probably switch over and monetize and become more B2E versus B2B. So that's when I decided to launch the community. And I also knew that by knowing each other and sharing knowledge and sharing stories and lifting one another up, they could go from working in a silo to having colleagues and having a community. And I knew that together they'd be much stronger than working in a silo. And that's how we began.
Yeah. What's interesting that I picked up is that you set out in the first iteration, you set out to create a network, but then it sounded a little bit like what brought you more, where you found your flow and your own enjoyment in the process was more in the community and in the connection between individuals, not just in a network, but in a greater ecosystem, which became your community. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, it is. And when I meet people who say they want to run a community or start a community, I can tell if they're going to be good at it or not, because it does take a certain personality traits to be really good at it. And one of those traits or talents is matchmaking. So if you are, and I've always been a matchmaker. I've set up people who became best friends. I've set up people who became a married couple, business connections. I'm good at it. It's a talent. And I think that when you have these certain talents that lend themselves well to community, you not only tend to be good at it, but you enjoy it. And I think that's one of the reasons why I realized it was a good fit, because I love connecting people. I love matchmaking, and it's something that doesn't feel like work to me. It feels really good and fun and easy and really fulfilling. So what better than to create a business around something that doesn't actually feel like work?
Yeah, that's the flow right there. Well, and what's interesting is that you created an environment where you scaled that skill for yourself. So you're not individually matching me with members, but you're like, hey, when everyone joins, find someone who has something that your business needs, connect with them. So you've essentially scaled your power of matchmaking and networking to the rest of your community and created the environment where they can do that.
Yeah, well, we've tried to maintain both. So I literally just emailed a member posted in the community sharing that she launched something new. And if anyone was up for giving her feedback, that would be so appreciated. And I didn't post in the forum, but I responded to her directly. And I said, hey, listen, here's 2 people who have offered to help in this category, because we have member offers, which I'll get into later. But here's 2 people I went and looked up who had offers, one-on-one offers to help her with this. So I am doing that high touch matchmaking, but we've built internally our own technology from the ground up to scale how I personally connect people. So I did everything manually for many years. And then we decided as a team, now's the time we can scale how Erin does this. And so there's all these different products on the market that create connections for different, for communities. They're very expensive and they're not as customizable as I would like. It doesn't match people the way I match people. And so we created our own. We spent quite a bit of money. We built it from scratch, and it generates matches exactly how I would do it on my own. So we are doing both. So I am still much more involved than people probably realize, but I look at it like these are the things that I enjoy doing. So why would I give up the parts of the business that I enjoy? I want to give up finance. I don't enjoy that. Someone else can do that stuff, but I want to still be involved in the pieces that bring me joy. And one of those pieces is matchmaking.
I'm so excited to dig into that in a little bit here, because I think that is one of on the surface, it just looks like, what is this magic that is happening? But Erin's matchmaking product, I could see that coming out of the market someday.
It's priceless.
Let's dive into some of the results. What does the community look like today, and how have you seen it grow and change?
God, it has evolved so much. I think the biggest shift was, first of all, a shift in me going from founder to CEO. Just that mindset is such a huge shift. And we went from constant product market fit stage. I mean, we were, and I think this is true for many communities versus like a SaaS company, is you stay in product market fit stage almost indefinitely because you're building something that is an ecosystem. It evolves constantly. Yes. It is always in motion. And the big shift was going from that stage to, this is who we are. This is what we do. Here's who we're not. And this is what we don't do. And having a ton of conviction around that, and a ton of walls and container around what we know we are and what we know we're good at, because we are building this for the members. This is not for me personally. This is for the members. So it should be what they want, but also it should, suggestions and asks and wants should be for the greater community, not the individual. So I started to be able to filter out, okay, what is, this person's asking for something. This is a great idea, but is this good for the group? Or is it really just good for a couple individuals? So shifting into that conviction of what we do, who we are, what we're not, who we're not, that's what's created the ecosystem that it is today.
Which reminds me of probably the process that most consultants go through when they first start, right? You're kind of like, you're like, oh, I'll kind of say yes to a bunch of different things because I'm still trying to find my niche.
I hope not. If they join the upside, they won't be doing that. And if they do the accelerator, they definitely won't be doing that. No, we don't want people. We don't want people doing that. We don't want anyone wasting time. We want people to get the answers they need and the tools and the resources and the connections they need super, super fast. And that, I think that's really the reputation we have, is you come in, we turn the crank, you go through the gears, and you spit out like a fast and hard and successful business person, consultant. That's the machine, that's the upside. We don't want people making mistakes. We want to prevent that from happening. So hopefully not, Bri. I hope they're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Well, I think what I heard was that you refined your North Stars over time in your community. And you said, hey, actually, these are the things that we're really convicted about. And this is where the exact boundary is. And you had to find that, right? You didn't know that right off the bat. You had to discover what that line was for your community.
Yeah, I mean, I always knew what the mission was. The North Star was always the same. It was just that in community, what people don't realize is that the product market fit stage never ends. You are always evolving because community is an ecosystem. It doesn't survive or thrive if you're not building it for the members, with the members. That's what community is. And so, I think I just had to evolve by determining what fits in the container, meaning tactically what fits, what events, what offerings we're willing to do, and that are profitable, quite honestly, because members will sometimes ask for things that take us away from them. They don't realize it, but it's taking us away from being with them and serving them. I'll give you one example. Members a long time ago came up with a great idea, which was to launch somewhat of a speakers bureau, because we have so many experts, everyone's an expert. And when I really thought about it, I thought, well, now we have a second customer base. now I have now I'm serving a different customer base. Now that's 2 customer bases. That's going to take me away from all of you. So we scrapped the idea, even though it was a very, very good and logical idea. We think, okay, will that take us away from serving the members? The members, that's who we're serving. And everything we do has to serve them and only them. Otherwise, it's a different business.
Yep. I love how you stayed laser focused on that commitment. A good no so that your yes is even more powerful is worth its weight in gold. What are some of the metrics that you track to measure the success of the community?
Well, it's super cliche, but engagement, of course. So I look at every single post and I want to make sure people are getting their answers. If someone posts something and they're not getting an answer, we might get involved. We might dive in, start tagging people. So engagement is really important. Who's showing up to events? So if we have an event that we know is so super valuable and people love it, but it's only like 20 people, that's not necessarily worth calendar space. We might end up taking that off the schedule for the next quarter because everyone's time is so precious and we don't want to bombard people or crowd the calendar with events that aren't super high impact, or maybe they are high impact, but for whatever reason, members aren't making the time for it. And we're also looking at, when we look at retention, we're looking at reasons for leaving. So the majority of members who leave the Upside are leaving for reasons that are beyond our control. They get a full-time job, for example, or they change businesses, or they close their business, or they're caring for an elderly parent or a new baby, or these are reasons those are good reasons. These are reasons why you leave a community. And so we're looking at, when we look at all the reasons people exit, what percentage is in our control and what percentage isn't. And as long as in our control percentage is really small, I think that's a really good measurement of success. And there's a qualitative element too. I get emails and messages all the time from people telling me stories, telling me about the impact. Can I measure that? No, it's completely qualitative and just a feeling, but I collect all of those messages and emails and I save them, and they constantly flow in. So I set out to create a business that makes an impact and helps people, especially financially, especially in their confidence, especially in their future, and especially the closing any kind of economic gaps. And we're achieving that. And to me, that's the greatest measurement of all.
Yeah. I love how you design that into the process into the community itself with the wins and gratitude space. I think that's a great place that you probably see a ton of that qualitative measurement as well.
Yeah, and I also think, look, nobody achieves success alone. And I've been in other communities that have spaces for wins and brags, but I thought, well, it doesn't make sense to have a section for people to share their wins if they're not also thanking the people in the Upside who have helped them along the way. Because every win you see shared, almost every win in the Upside has a thank you attached to it. Thank you to Bri for walking me through how to execute, blah, 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 blah. It just sets the tone of what community is all about. It's about give and take.
And I don't know if you probably thought of this in the midst of that design, but what that also does to me as a member is every time I see a post in wins and gratitude, it reminds me of what is offered, which I know we're going to get to in a little bit, but it kind of recirculates the whole kind of flywheel of the offerings that you've created in the community.
I think it does too. And I think it also helps introduce people. So if someone says, thank you to Bri for helping me out with my new community model, people who are also doing that are going to say, wait, maybe I need to connect with Bri. And so,
exactly.
It helps foster future connections as well, which is something I love.
Yeah, I love that design element. Before we dive into design, are there any metrics that you want to brag about and share within the success of the community?
Oh my God. I mean, there's so many. We did a rebrand back in 2021 and launched it publicly in January of 22. I mean, it was like a major rebrand, like night and day, didn't even look like the same company in a good way. And if you look at the bar chart of our growth, the results after that rebrand, it doubled. We've doubled EBITDA every single year since our inception. I mean, I can't think of a better measurement than that, but I mean, I think, it's all about investing in the right growth strategies. And I knew that our outside did not match the inside. The outside that we were presenting, we had outgrown it. It was very cottagey. It just was very DIY, and the messaging was DIY, and we brought in the big guns, and it paid off big time. So knowing what to invest in and knowing what's going to move the needle and staying super, super laser focused on what actually moves the needle, paying attention to your data on where your members are coming from, and then doubling down on that, I think is something a lot of people don't do. I think a lot of people try to repeat what they see others doing, but they aren't really looking into their metrics and diving deep and saying, okay, where are our members coming from? How are they finding us? How are they hearing about us? And let's just do more of that. So that's what we started doing. And we've doubled our EBITDA every year.
I did a post a couple weeks ago of, if you really wanted to just condense down my community strategy to like one thing, what is working well? Do it 10 times more. Just keep doing, and don't just keep like throwing it at the wall, but keep iterating and improving and focus on that one thing that's working and do it even better. So much success to celebrate in the upside. And we're going to dive into the design next. But before I ask my next question, if you're watching this, follow along, subscribe on YouTube to see future community dissections. Season 2, which we are currently in, is focusing on membership communities, which tend to be paid. Erin's community is a perfect example of a thriving membership community. And if you want more dissections of some of the best membership communities in the world, then subscribe to our channel. All right, let's talk about the design. Who did you design for?
Well, the members.
Describe to me who they are.
Okay. This is a trick question, Bri. Who they are. So they are typically former corporate warriors, not all of them, but most of them either spent a decade or two in startups or Fortune 500s, working full time, building up their skills and knowledge, and they broke out on their own to take on their own clients. They decided they no longer wanted to work to increase someone else's bottom line when they had no control over increasing theirs. Not to mention, we all know that there is no job security, so if we're going to have an unstable job, we might as well do it on our own terms and have a lot more control of our destiny. And so that's who they are. They span every single sector and function. We have from healthcare to tech to beauty, and we have marketers, fractional CFOs, operators, growth strategists, PR people. I mean, all functions, all skills, all industries, all company sizes, and we span 7 time zones.
Yeah, you do. I've got one of them covered.
Yeah, you're one of 2. You're one of 2 in Hawaii, Upside members in Hawaii.
What happens inside the community? What are some of the experiences that you facilitate there?
Well, my focus is on expanding connections with the right people and providing unbelievable access to support. So those are the 2 pillars that we're always focused on. It's support and connections. I know from having run several businesses and being at a certain age that the right relationships will open tons of doors. And we have a value system in the upside where we believe in building business friendships and non-transactional networking. So what that means is people come into the upside to make business friends, to actually get to know people and build relationships, not ask for clients. I'm in other communities and I've really stopped doing a lot of one-on-one coffees because usually someone's asking something of me. Oh, if you know anyone, send them my way. I'm like, I literally I don't even know you. Like, why? I'm not going to send a client your way. Like, I don't know if I can, like, I don't know you, you know what I mean? Like this is like fifth date material and we're only on our first date. So that's really important to me. So the connections and all the events and all the systems that we build within the upside are to foster very meaningful connections with the right people who can be sounding boards for you, be your board of directors and advisors who can, when the fractional CFO has a question about her website, we've got someone in the upside who can help with that. Everyone supporting everyone, knowing that no one is good at everything. Everyone has holes to fill. And then the support. So we have all sorts of resource guides and templates that our members use. We have expert sessions to help level up their skills. And everything we do is laser focused on this very specific type of person and very specific business model so that everything we put on the calendar is relevant to every single person in our community. Whereas a lot of other communities I'm in for entrepreneurs, for example, there's all sorts of sessions on like building a Shopify site or scaling a digital course. And I'm like, this is not relevant to me at all. Delete, delete, delete. Everything we do, especially from a support and resources standpoint, is 100% relevant to everyone. And we also assume you're smart. So there's not a whole lot of 101s in the upside. I personally don't like going to things where someone teaches me things I already know and I just wasted an hour of my time. I make sure that doesn't happen in the upside.
Yeah. Yeah. A big part of, I would perceive a big part of the support is the offer structure that you have in place. Do you mind talking about that a little bit more?
Yeah. And talk about product market fit. We're still evolving that. We're still, for a while we were hearing from members like, no one's taking my offer. No one's called me for my offer. And I thought, oh, that's strange. And we've evolved it a lot over time to make sure that members know about the offers, can take advantage of the offers. So when people apply to join the upside, they are asked to suggest one thing they can offer to another upside member. It can be something that doesn't take their time, like a PDF template that they might have. It can be something like, oh, I'm a member of Luminary in New York City. If you're ever in town, you want to co-work with me for the day, you can be my guest at Luminary. And then there's also time. So some people offer up their time. They'll say, oh, if you're building a community, I'll offer 30 minutes of my time to do a deep dive on best practices, or questions about your website. I'll offer 30 minutes of my time to do a user, a UX design audit and see where there might be room for improvement. And it ranges every topic you can possibly think of, even sales funnels, everything. So what does that do? So when you have, and we give people the option to offer two. So some people even have two offers. So we have about 400 member offers in our database. And we've custom built a dashboard, a dashboard, a password protected website where members can access and search those offers. And it just does several things. First of all, there's a lot of one-on-one support. So when people really need advice, they're getting somebody's 30 or 45 minutes of somebody's time that normally charges hundreds and hundreds of dollars an hour for that time. Mm-hmm. But that person is giving that time because they have access to 399 other offers that they're like, well, yes, I'm giving 30 minutes of my time, but tomorrow I need to contact someone for help on my P&L. And it's this ecosystem of giving back and also taking what you need. I always say it's sort of like chain letters. like from back in the 80s. I don't know, you're too young, but we used to, it's like you'd get these chain letters in the mail and it's like send to 6 people and send. And the point was you only send out 6, but you get like 36 letters back in return. So it's a little bit like that. It's like you're giving a low lift and you're getting 400 in return. And we have several strategies now for making sure members are aware of these and that they're taking advantage. So we send an email every Monday morning just saying what's going on in the upside that week and make sure this is on your calendar. And here's the links if you just want a quick link to join these events. Here's any important announcements. And we also have, and here are some member offers. And each section each week has a theme. So here are member offers for getting your ops in order. And it'll list like 4 people who have operations focused offers. And, it'll list their offer and a link to get in touch with them. So that's one way we're doing it. And we also reworked the whole thing. It used to be part of our member directory. So people would search the member directory and then there was like a section with offers. We made it its own thing now. It's separate from the member directory. Now, member offers is its own directory, its own URL, its own password. And I think it has succeeded because of that.
Yeah, it's definitely easy to use. And it's funny, I'm digging into my economics degree right now, but it's kind of like the community, it's a rotating savings fund of offers of soft skills and hard skills, which I love. It's just the essence of community and the power of if I give just a fraction, I get back the collective power of this whole group, which I might not need the collective power of this whole group at any one point in time, but to be able to kind of nibble here and there as you have needs is an incredible resource that you've created.
Great.
Are there other programs, experiences that you're really proud of in the community that you want to talk about?
Yeah. You know why? I said yes very quickly because there's one program that I think we might have redone it. We might have had 8 iterations of it.
Wow.
And we never gave up on it because we knew it was valuable. We just had to figure out how to make it work. And most communities don't do this well. So it's not like I could have asked my friends. Most people are like, yeah, we just can't figure this out. And that program is small group cohorts, how to create these small groups that are sticky, that provide a ton of value, that are more intimate settings where members can gather and dive much deeper with each other repetitively. So they're meeting with the same group at the same cadence. That is really hard to do. And I personally haven't seen communities do this well unless that is the community. So let's just state the obvious. Chief, they're like the biggest ones. That is what they do. That is the core value is their groups. That's what you're paying for, is to be in that group of 10 people. That is what it is. The community is secondary, if there really even is a community. For us, community is first. The ecosystem comes first. But within that ecosystem, people crave smaller groups. And, we called them different things. Every time we'd reintroduce them, we'd make it different. We'd call it, and we're like, listen, we haven't gotten it right yet, but we are going to get it right for you because we know how important this is. We won't give up. We're going to keep massaging and trying. And I think the most important part and the reason why it has become successful is because we went from trying to train members on what to do and how to behave and use these groups to shifting to a different mindset, which was observing how they're observing like scientists. How are they behaving? How are they using? Yes, they're using them wrong. This is not how we intended. It's not working. But what are they doing instead? And how can we turn that behavior? How can we take those behaviors and create systems and create programs around the behaviors that are already existing. And that is not easy to do, by the way. It is not. But that is what we did over time. And that's why we call them special interest groups. That's why they've become really successful. We listened, we observed, we never gave up on it. And we were very transparent and used a lot of humor with our members and saying, here we go again, we're going to try this again. And we have not gotten it right. But thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for helping us evolve this and making this that we're going to get it right. I will not give up on this. I know you need it, and we're going to get it right.
I have so many takeaways from this whole episode so far, but the iterative approach is, and treating your community like a scientist and observing and having a keen eye for what's working, and being willing to cut something when it's not, or start from scratch and relaunch it. When you said that you were observing, what did that look like? Were you tactically, were you surveying members after each experience? Were you attending these small group sessions to observe the behavior? Do you mind going into that detail a little bit?
Yeah, well, it was a little bit of both. So we were always surveying to get feedback, because we are very fortunate in that we are a group of high-level advisors and consultants. So these are people who are very, very good at giving advice and feedback. So the nature of who we're serving happen to also be strategists, and they have a lot of really good ideas. So we are really, really lucky that we have members who can shape the community from a very high level strategic point of view. That's just luck of the draw because of who we serve. So yes, we are asking for a lot of feedback and getting really good ideas, but mostly we are looking at the feedback we weren't asking for. So if someone is taking the time to write an email to us and saying, I didn't like this thing. First of all, in our community, they're not doing that to complain. They're doing that because, like any successful ecosystem, they genuinely want it to be the best it can possibly be. They know we're building it for them. They know that we care about their feedback and about what they want. So it's not complaining. It's they have taken the time to write this. We should be listening and we should be paying attention. So it's really more like, what are people saying when we're not asking for their advice and we're not asking for feedback? Because that's when you get the real meat, because they're taking that time to do so. So that was a big, big piece of it. And obviously we also know our members. So we know if something's an outlier, we know if someone's just, that type of person, that we remove the outliers and we really look at our core member profile and say, who is giving us feedback? And seeing, for example, we had a problem with attendance. So people, look, life happens. Oh, my child is sick. Oh, I ended up having to be on an airplane that day. Oh, these are normal things that happen. But the problem is, in a small group, the members who did show up would say, there were only 3 people here because such and such, such and such and such and such, this one was sick, this one ended up on an airplane, got delayed, all these things. And it would be frustrating to show up to something and only 2 other people were there. And we knew so that's what we were observing too. We're but we can't solve for that. We can't make people not have a life. We can't prevent people from getting sick or getting stuck on an airplane or all the things that happen and why some people can't show up. So how do we solve for that? So we were paying attention to RSVPs. We were paying attention to unsolicited feedback, paying attention to who was actually raising their hand to participate and who was dropping out. Really, like a scientist, just watching them all in the maze and watching how they were behaving and seeing how can we create this program around how they're already behaving, which is not necessarily being able to show up every time and wanting to be only with like-minded members who shared a specific common interest, and so forth and so forth, and solving for that instead of saying, here's the program, here's how it works, which is what we used to do. And it just didn't work. Well, it worked sometimes, but it didn't work as well as it works now.
Fascinating. And what I hear you saying too is that you have a really nuanced balance between these are the things that we're going to hold on really tightly to and knowing when to let go. So you're like, sometimes stuff happens in life and we're not going to just keep hammering the events, hitting you over the back of the head, trying to get you to come to every event because things are going to happen. You can't show up. We need to just release that. But then you're constantly looking for, but what are those things that we can hold to tighter and invest more resources into? And the line that I loved was, what are people saying when you're not asking their opinion? Because also, if you're not willing to hear what they say at that moment in time, they're not going to give you the honor of their opinion when you ask for it. So if you're not willing to hear someone and their opinion when you haven't asked for it, they're not going to tell you when you really want to hear it. I love that takeaway.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, it's not always easy to hear feedback. I've definitely had some like moments where I was like, I need to take a step away from this desk because I'm frustrated. It's like I'm putting so much into this and it's still not right. It's still not perfect or mostly perfect. And it is not easy. I'm making it sound like it's no big deal. It is not easy getting all that feedback because what I think no one understands unless you actually run a community is how much goes into it. People just do not understand when something looks super smooth and easy, it is a lot going on behind the scenes to make it look that way. I like to say, it takes a lot of makeup to look this natural. That's what community is. When communities look smooth and easy and mostly seamless, that is a ton of work. I mean, we have 4 people on staff. I mean, I'm not including me making this thing run. And like, I spend so much time on it. And people for years were asking me, oh, is this like a part-time business? I'm like, what? I'm working like 80 hours a week here. This isn't a part-time business. Like, what? A part-time business? Why would you think that? Because it just looks so seamless on the front end that they don't realize how much work it is on the back end.
Yep. The not so passive income.
Oh my God. That might be my least favorite word or phrase ever to exist in business.
It's so insulting.
It's the phrase passive income. It literally makes me want to take a hammer to like the screen. It is so, it just makes people feel bad, I have to say, because they think, well, I should be doing something for passive income. If I had a nickel for every time someone said to me, I'm going to launch XYZ for passive income, I say, my friend, ain't no such thing as passive income. No. Trust me, don't do it if that's why you're doing it. If you're doing it for money and for passive income, it's a scheme. It is not a business.
The two myths we can officially say have been busted on this episode. There is no such thing as passive income. There is no such thing as job security. So we can all move forward now.
Yes, now we can all move on with our lives. Now that everyone, and for everyone listening to this, the passive income thing, I want you to please block out the noise online when you see ads for anything that promises passive income, because I promise you, maybe 1 in a billion people actually can make $1 million in their sleep. I've worked with thousands of entrepreneurs. I have also run and still do run a digital course. Yes, that can provide passive income, but not 7 figures or even high 6 figures of passive income. It takes a ton of marketing, digital marketing 24 hours a day to generate that type of income.
We need to change the conversation from passive income to recurring revenue. That's what it is. And
Yes.
it might be, you know, 2 calories of work for 10 calories of reward, which is awesome. I would call that recurring revenue rather than there's nothing passive about it. Let me tell you.
Definitely not. And I just wish the people selling those systems and selling that promise would just stop, because I think a lot of people waste their time and money, and it's
a good warning to community people, because I think people can go into the community industry with that same mindset of like, oh, I'll have a membership, or I'll create this system and the structure, just set it and forget it. And community is really the exact opposite for the point that you made in the very beginning, which is this is a constantly evolving product market fit, because our product is a group of people who are made up of people who change constantly. So that ecosystem is changing constantly. And you have to be attuned to that in order to foster a thriving space.
You know, when you see like a flock of like 1,000 crows in the sky, and they all kind of move like this, like in a clump. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's what community is. It's like it's constantly doing this, and the birds are, you know, they're all together, but it's constantly doing this. And I also want to say, and this is really, really important to me, because I'm seeing, whereas 3 years ago, nobody knew what community was. Now everyone wants to be a community leader, which is great for you, Bri, but it's not great for the entrepreneurs who are being fed a bunch of lies. And I will tell you that the biggest rule of thumb I can think of for whether or not to get into community business is, if you are getting into this business for money, because you think it's a good business model, because you think you'll make money in your sleep because of recurring revenue, just keep on walking, because it's just not a good business model if that is the main reason you want to get into the business. People who succeed in community got into it because of their heart, not because of their wallets. Those are the only people I've seen succeed in this business. I've never seen people succeed in the long term because they wanted to make money.
Yeah. 100%. I just did a post the other day. If you are not the most excited person about your community, do not launch it. No one is going to be more excited for what you are launching than you. So if you're excited purely for financial reasons, as you said, that might be like, we should create a financial model that's stable and consistent and recurring. But if that's what you're excited about, it's not going to.
The main ROI for you, your main goal should be impact. It's all about impact. It's about the money will come later if you do it right. But I will not name names, but there are many communities out there that did it with dollar signs in their eyes, and they're struggling. Even big venture-backed ones, they aren't doing well, because that's not what community is.
Yeah.
It is not a venture-backed, fast-growing thing. It is an organism, an ecosystem. It is something that has to be built with heart, has to be built with a complete and total intention, with the mission being number one. And values being number one. It cannot be because you want to get rich or make investors rich.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a long game. And that's why I chose the name Ember, actually, for my company, because I like to say that building a community is like building a fire. And if you've ever built a fire from scratch, you know there's no shortcuts. But when you can get those couple of embers, couple of coals, there's nothing that they're not going to turn into flames. But it takes a while to foster that level of heat and engagement.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything that you're looking forward to changing in the near future about the community? We've talked a lot about your iterative process over the last 4 years, but are you looking to the future to change anything, and anything you're willing to share here?
I am not looking to change anything, to be honest. I'm looking to do exactly what we have been doing. Like you said, what has been successful, and just keep doing that. What's been successful is very slow, very steady growth. It's been very intentional growth and curation, and it's been slow evolutions, evolving with our members, listening to what they need and what they want, and doing it as we go and for them. If I said I want to plan this or that now to change in the future, I'd be doing that for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something like, how could I predict what our members want a year from now? They'll tell me, and we'll evolve it. We'll evolve it for them, with them. That's what community is.
So well said. Awesome. Well, if you're watching this, leave a comment because I'd love to know. This episode was a little different than how we normally approach our community dissections. And what I loved about it is we got to dissect the actual iterative evolution of the community. Even though we didn't dive into the current like layout and format and UX, I really loved getting to see, Erin, the layers behind your process and getting the community to where it is today. So if you'd like more episodes like that, where we dive in and do more interviews with the founders and CEOs of the community, let us know and stick around for more membership community dissections. Erin, any final thoughts or comments you want to share?
Oh my God, I've given so many thoughts. I feel like I've stuffed everyone's ears with all my things. First of all, I appreciate that you did this interview style because, I think it's hard for most founders to just reveal everything that's going on behind the scenes for like anyone and everyone to see, because we work so hard to curate that and to build it, and so much has gone into it. So I just really appreciate you asking me, first of all, and second of all, letting us do this interview style. I am an open book. So for anyone watching this, if you want to ask me any questions, you can DM me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Erin Halper. I'm pretty easy to find. And we also have tons of free resources on our website, a pricing guide, a lead gen guide, all sorts of different things, because ultimately, I know not everyone either can afford or are ready to join the upside. And I just want as many people as possible to level up and to succeed.
Yeah, great resources coming out of the upside. We're going to link to Erin's LinkedIn profile, as well as the upside and the resources that you can find there. So Erin, thank you so much. Members of the upside, if you're watching this, know that you are a part of a phenomenal community that has been designed and built by one of the best and brightest. And I'm excited to send this into the world. So thank you, Erin.
Thanks, Bri. I appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone.